Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to the Think to Drive podcast. As always, I'm your host, Adrian Tracy. And today I have the very lovely Dr. Brigitte Bojkowszky with me from Brigitte Brands, all the way from Austria. And Brigitte is a company owner. She's self-employed. She owns a company called At Brigitte Brands. And Brigitte Brands is all about personal and company brand identity. Brigitte, welcome to the show. Thank you very much for being here. And please introduce yourself a little bit more to the audience.
Hello, Adrian. Thank you so much for having me here on your show today and talk about my journey. My name is Brigitte Bojkowszky, and I'm, as you say, a company and personal brand identity strategist. I'm operating on a global level, so it's not just locally in a specific country market or in a certain region. But I have been a global person for all of my life. And this is also one of my passions, to work with different cultures and nationalities. So I'm an international brander, I would say. I help corporations, I empower their leaders, entrepreneurs, and individual people to create, craft, reshape their identities so that they can authentically shine. And that's what I am doing. So it's branding on all the different levels. It's from the corporate level, company level, product, service, experience, personal, and leadership branding as well, because every leader within an organization also represents not only him or herself, but also the organization, how we align that. It's all about how we present ourselves to the world as a person, as a company. And that's where I'm in.
Wow. I noticed, branding is such a huge topic these days, and something that personally I could probably do with a bit more help with, to be fair. So we might have a conversation later on about that. But I noticed that you worked with a couple of my favorite brands, Volkswagen and Porsche.
Yeah.
Porsche is on my vision board as a car to have at some stage. So that was really interesting. And I mean, when you think about branding, or when I think about branding and I think about a brand like Porsche, it's an incredibly sort of aspirational brand, and it has a heritage. It has this history to it that people associate with a certain type of car, the 911, obviously. When it comes to personal branding, though, that must be a huge challenge. How would you ordinarily start about getting somebody to think about their personal branding, or get? I don't even know where to start to think about it. Like, how does somebody define their personal brand?
I think there is not much difference to corporations to break that down to a personal level. When it comes to analysis, of course, you use different models and frameworks that are scientifically proven and have been over a long time. At the essence, is that it's not only what people think of you, what they talk about you, it's really about how you as a brand make them feel. It's the feeling that you elicit. And everyone, whether it's the people who design Porsche or any other strong global brand, it's the commitment of what kind of feeling we want to create in our customers, in our ideal clients. So, for example, a Porsche would go with a lifestyle segmentation. They have around five different ideal clients, and they know exactly what their profile is, so that they can touch those emotions that are important for them. Because when you think of a car, and you have it on your vision board. I also love Porsche. I like the Macan. That's a really nice car. It's more a women's car, I would say. But it's an extension of yourself. So why would you go for a Porsche? What feeling does it bring across? And what are you thinking about what makes you desire to own such a car? Yeah?
Mm.
Because everything that you purchase is an extension of your identity. My iPhone is an extension of who I am.
Mm.
So when it comes to personal branding, you need to reflect who you are at your true core. What is it all about you? Who am I? And what do I want to present to the world? Who do I want to present myself as a person?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because whatever you do, every interaction with someone else is a presentation of yourself. People get an idea of who you are. So, what you are sending out as an identity, how you show yourself, creates an image in the market, an image in everyone you are directly or indirectly in touch with. They create an image about you. So
Mm.
you are not sending out an image, you're sending out an identity. And everyone else is reflecting that in creating an image about you in their minds. That's what it is. So
Wow.
what you're sending out and the image you create in other people's minds, that needs to align. And when this is in alignment, then you know that you were intentional in sending out what you expect to be seen at.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. It must be
Yeah.
quite difficult to do, though, I
No,
think.
it's not difficult when you know how to do it, and as an expert, you hopefully know how to create, craft, shape, reshape, and it's all about awareness, first of all, of who we are. That's
Mhm.
why, in order to project something to the world, you need to do your inner work. There needs to be this look inside first, this introspection. You're going on a discovery mission about who you are. And I think here starts the difficulty. For most people, it's too difficult. There's so much effort in reflecting who we are. That's work,
Mhm.
but it pays off. It's work because it's easier to live like that than just to put a mask on and be outer oriented. Be inner oriented. Listen to what's going on in here.
That
That's
that
your
that
driver.
yeah. No, that's really interesting, because that's the part, obviously, that I focus on with the mindset, is getting people to do that introspective work, to look inside and become. We always say that there was Dr. Maxwell Maltz. He wrote a book called Psycho-Cybernetics, and he spoke about the two images that we hold of ourselves. The internal image of how we see ourselves, and then there's the external image, which is the image that we project to the outside world. So what you're talking about in the branding is making sure that the two of them align. Yeah. So
Mhm.
the
Exactly.
image that you see of yourself is the same image that you project out, which I think would be along the lines of what everybody, the buzzword around branding and marketing at the moment seems to be authentic. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's being your authentic self and projecting your authentic self.
Absolutely. And as you say, we also need to get the feedback of others, but it's the second stage,
Mm.
because we have an image about ourselves. And we constantly need to reevaluate, because we are evolving over time. We are changing over time. We have a past, we have experiences, we have expertise. So this becomes our platform, which we are operating upon.
Mm-hmm.
So we grow, we always grow, if we are aware of it or not, and we are always changing. So is our personal brand, our the way of how we project ourselves. And it's a transformation. We are continuously in a transformation. The
Yeah.
identity is always changing. So we need to be aware. And we also need to know, or need to, and if we want to be more intentional, where do we want to change to? What is
Mm.
it at the end of the day? What do I want to leave behind? When I'm in my deathbed, I want to be happy, proud of myself. I have given my best. So what is my best? What is, so the journey when it comes to being a business owner or a leader or whatever function you have in this world, a transformation of passion into something. And when we talk about the awareness of ourselves, our personal brand, then it's a transformation of passion into the brand. That's what we do. And then we also, because we are kind of limited seeing ourselves in one way or in another. So there's always good to have the feedback from others, your friends, your business partners, people you know very well, people you don't know very well. What impression do they have of you? Because they show you certain blind spots, as you know, right? And this blind spot can be a weakness that you suddenly are more aware of, or another strength you have never thought of you have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that, the progression of passion into building something. I love it. I don't know if you ever remember Bob Proctor. He used to say, there's a basic law of the universe: you're either growing or you're dying. Yeah. So if you're not progressing, you're going backwards. But the other thing that he used to say that I absolutely love is, change is inevitable. Personal growth is a choice. So whether you like it or not, things are going to change. Whether you change with it or not is completely up to you.
It's the constant in life. It's change. And that's why a lot of companies, traditional companies, are struggling because they're not going and integrating change. A lot of, especially here in Austria, change is always perceived to be bad. But if you see it as an opportunity, if you see it as something to grow, I'm not talking about jumping on every trend, on every shiny object that is out there. It needs to fit your values, your philosophy. But you need to be open. Otherwise, you are left behind and you will go out of business. And it's as you say, it's mindset. It's understanding what kind of belief set you have, understanding of your perspective on things, your opinions, that all goes into that. So there needs to be, I would say, a growth mindset in order to bring about the change, and at least to be open to that. If you are the one person that says, okay, I'm going with the flow, at least you need to have the flexibility to take on new opportunities and challenges. Because otherwise, as you say, I mean, what is the opposite of growing?
Yeah, if you're not growing, you're dying. There's a fantastic book that I'm reading at the moment, and it's Mindset is the name of the book. You might have heard of it, Dr. Carol S. Dweck.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and her insights into the growth versus the fixed mindset is exactly what you're talking about as a business. If you're the fixed mindset is, we are as good as we're always ever going to be, and this is who we are as a company, and if we stick to doing this, then everything is going to be okay. Whereas the growth mindset is, well, okay, things change. Yeah. This is what we're good at, but this is not all that we're good at. And this is not the limit of what it is that we're good at. We can grow, we can expand, we can get better, we can change with the times, etc. And you see it in the corporate world. I think you see it over and over and over again with organizations that get too big or get so big and become the market leader. And suddenly the market changes. Something that jumps into my mind is I think it was Fujifilm, the company that made the film for cameras. Any of our younger listeners probably don't know what film and camera is, because for the last 15 or 20 years, it's all been digital. But before that, Fujifilm were one of the largest companies in the world, and they manufactured, or Kodak as well, sorry, and they manufactured the large the films, and then they didn't recognize the change in the market, the change in how things are going. They thought, no, we're so big, things will always be okay. We're the market leader. And then before they know it, the whole industry has changed.
Yeah, this is a very, we call it a myopic mindset. You're focusing only on you and your strength, and you're not considering external factors on a macro level, on the industry changes. You're not you're not following the outside trends and changes.
Yeah.
And that was the problem for them, because they became obsolete. And there was not only within their industry, but the threat can come not only from your competition in that industry, from a substitute product that comes from outside of that specific industry. Think about sugar and its sugar substitutes. It's already in the name. It's substituting a total industry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the threat can come from everywhere. So you need to have a holistic view on everything. And that is the problem, that most companies in that case go out of business, because they're too busy with just looking inside, doing what they're doing, and kind of insulated.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you're a car person, Brigitte, but I'm a huge car person, and I've worked in the car rental industry for the last, gosh, longer than I care to say, since about 2006, almost 20 years now. And the whole car industry, in my opinion, is going through this at the moment. And I did an interview with a guy called Arturs from Latvia recently, and he is of the same opinion. The what we call the legacy car manufacturers, the likes of the big names, they're having huge challenges at the moment, especially with the likes of the car manufacturers from China. Very similar to how the Japanese came in the 70s and 80s into the US market and European markets and completely disrupted. So there's a big change underfoot there, and I think when Tesla came out, for example, in the early 2010s, maybe a little bit before, I can't remember, but there was a long period of time when it seemed like the legacy car manufacturers were going, nah, this is a phase, it's going to disappear. And now everything is moving towards it, and they're playing massive amounts of catch up. And some will be able to do it and some won't be able to do it.
Yeah, I mean, there's also different dynamics when it was with Toyota. I mean, Toyota became big as a global company because they were operating as Keiretsu. Keiretsu is the Japanese word for being together, and they are in different ways. So different companies with a bank in the center are integrated. And when you work together as a team, then you have, of course, more power. And it was also the time of standardization. So standardization across market. And that's how they leveraged that and became so strong. And also what they did is this TQM, total quality management. That was also one of the drivers. And so we also need to see the whole, also this is a holistic thing, what helped them to conquer the world, to conquer the markets. And now I think with all the electric cars in China, I mean, this is a kind of very unfair play, because all of these companies are subsidized by the government. And this is not the case in other country markets. There are other competitive rules and regulations. So I think we also see a change here, because there will be some quotas and taxes will be raised. But it's interesting to see how this is going to go in the future. And so China has a competitive advantage because also the factor costs are much, much lower. And so, and with being subsidized in this whole industry, you leapfrog anyone else around the world. So there needs to be new, I think, regulations and standards be in place in order to find a new way of a global
to get a level playing field for
Exactly.
everybody. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 It's a very interesting one in two ways though, because I always think in China these companies that are now manufacturing cars, they're not starting from scratch and trying to figure things out. They've been manufacturing the parts for the cars for the legacy car market makers for the last 20 years. So they've all of this knowledge and experience of creating the parts for everybody else, and now they're just creating their own. Which I think is a good sort of starting point for them. They're already a step ahead.
Yeah, sure, because it was easy, because all these Western companies started producing in China because of the arbitrage. The factor costs are so much cheaper. And I mean, they are not stupid. Yeah, take apart and put things together. That's how it works. So it's kind of to copy. Yeah, when it comes to copyrights, it's got taken on a different meaning. So in that case, they learned pretty fast and leveraged that with the greatest minds.
Yeah. But and then from a branding perspective, it must be super interesting to how do you, because a legacy car manufacturer has got, most of them, the big ones have got 50 to 100 years worth of history behind them, and they've all done the racing, or they've done all of these things over time that has but brought the emotion into the brand for people, because that's a super important thing that you mentioned earlier on, the emotion that's connected with a brand. For me, one of my favorite car manufacturers is Porsche, yeah, but also Mercedes. And I've always had Mercedes cars for the last 10 or 15 years, and I have an emotional connection with that brand. So it's the same thing. How does, apart from being being cheaper with good quality, a brand like, say, BYD or Geely or Neo or those sort of manufacturers get that across then here in Europe and in Western countries like America? It must be a huge challenge for them to get that sort of a connection with the brand, and something.
What I think what they have overcome over the last decades is this country of origin effect, made in China, because in earlier days, made in China was kind of associated and connotated with, okay, these are cheap products. But this has changed. They have proven to have higher quality, really good quality. Think about IBM and Lenovo. IBM kind of let go of the Lenovo brand, and Lenovo has become a strong player globally. So it could reinvent itself when it comes to branding. The thing is here, it resonates with a certain target audience. So when you say you are a Porsche driver, then you have a different lifestyle. You look at different things. There is different feelings that need to be in place, yeah, in order to catch you as a customer. You might not go with a Chinese car company, even though they are, it's an electric car, it's this and this and that. So you still have this prejudice, yeah, or you might not even consider it. But there are other people that say, okay, it's an electric car. I don't care about so much about the brand. If they have other factors that are important for them, that make them to purchase a Chinese car. Yeah, it's obviously it's the environmental issue. It's the environmental footprint. Obviously, it's because it's cheaper than anything else. It's more affordable because they're undercutting prices by 30% or something like that. So that makes a difference. And they don't care about the brand itself. So this is not something they consider, I need to have a Porsche now, or I need to have a BMW, or I only go with those aspirational brands. So that would be rather a peripheral brand playing on a lower price level. And there is definitely a global customer audience out there that wants to go for that.
Yeah.
You need to know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, say, around about 25 years ago, something like that. Skoda came into Ireland, with the Octavia was their first car that they really brought in since Volkswagen took them over. Before there was the older Skodas, but they didn't do well. But then people were able to see, I'm getting a Volkswagen quality, at 20 or 30% less. And over 10 years, Skoda became the biggest seller of cars in Ireland. So,
Yeah.
super
Yeah.
interesting.
So there is two ways. I just want to add on that, because the car remains the same. Yeah, so the product remains the same across different country markets. When we talk about, let's say, the developed markets, it might be a little bit different, for example, in emerging markets or in less developed markets, because you strip off features. But the product remains the same. The messaging, how you message, that's the marketing. It's not the brand. The brand remains the same, but the messaging of how you communicate the brand is going to be different. Skoda stays Skoda, but you add on a different messaging strategy. So here is also this global look, local touch, insofar the touch becomes more the messaging. Maybe also you adapt a little bit with interior designs. Yeah. So, for example, I know with all these big brands like the global brands, Porsche, BMW, and so on, they have also different features that are important for a North American family. So they need to have the cup holders everywhere.
Yeah, we're thinking alike. Cup holders was in my mind as soon as you said it.
Yeah, and this is not such a thing here in Europe or in Austria. My cups, because I'm partly in the US and I'm partly here, of course, I purchase a lot there that fits my lifestyle. I cannot even fit that into my car holder. Yeah. So there are these slight differences, because you want them to feel comfortable driving that car and do everything, because they eat in their cars, they drink in their cars. It's all the drive-through. This is not so much the case. Yeah.
Thankfully. But yeah, I mean that's a great message to anybody that's listening. Is that okay? So you have your core, the brand, which is you, but your message can be individual depending on which market that you're targeting. So for the likes of me, for example, I would have a different message if I was talking to people in the US than I would in Ireland or in England or in Austria, for example.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can standardize everything, standardized message, standardized product. This would be, for example, for luxury. So if you sell Tiffany, if you sell something that is really a luxury product, jewelry, the luxury brands here, if you're not consistent across market, yeah, same look, same touch, same everything, then, oh my God, why is this different in this country market? And talk about Chanel and all the fashion brands that high luxury. So there needs to be a standardized communication, a standardized products. But and then there are other products on the other end of the continuum. It's usually consumer purchased products. It's foods. Here you need to adapt, because the market will not be responsive. So if you go into an Indian market with a restaurant chain and you want to appeal to the masses with something that has, beef and all of that meat food, you might not be successful.
Yeah.
Or if you want to attract rather the rural area with big containers of shampoo, and people only have like $1 or $2 translated per I don't know how many days, you will not be able to sell that. So you need to think about a different packaging, different pricing, different ingredients. Yeah. You go with little sachets. It's one time used and throw it away. So these kind of things, you need to be very particular about that. Where you are in this range, in the continuum, are you a luxury product, or a high touch, high tech. High tech is also like high tech, what we consider car, computers. Now this can be more standardized, but low touch and low tech. Low touch means it's not a luxury product. It's kind of a, you know, everyday convenient product that is branded. Then it's more localized. It needs to be localized because the audience cannot purchase it, afford it, or whatever is in the way.
I think a great example of that, and I'm not a huge fan of McDonald's, but if I'm in a different country, we go into McDonald's and you'll see, okay, yes, they have their standard burgers, etc., but they also have their local menu, that of you know, local specialities in whatever country it is. You know, I saw stuff in Spain, I see stuff in Croatia recently when I was there. Yeah, so there's exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, so they drive this localized or regionalized strategy. They adapt to the market with both. So it's a kind of a dual adaptation that the market is considered, okay, this is something for me, I love that. Yeah, certain celebrations. Sometimes it's also a certain slogan that can go across different country markets where you have the same language that shares like the DACH market, German, Austria, Switzerland. So here you can go regional as well, but most companies are really breaking it down to local, depending on how much budget you have and where's the break off, where is the balance here. So it's also a financial a question, of course. The return on investment, there needs to be a return.
Makes sense.
See where the cutoff is.
Yeah. Well, it's super interesting, Brigitte. And so you been working. You've had your own company for the last 8 years, is it, or is it longer than that?
7 years, yeah. But I started simultaneously to my teaching professor job at the university because I knew my contract is going to end at the beginning of 2020, and I also wanted to go back to the industry. I'm coming from the industry, and I loved it being a professor. Teaching at the university to, you know, first of all, study everything that I have practiced. And this is very different than actually how you do it. Coming from the private sector and suddenly, oh, that's how it should work. Yeah. And there's a huge difference. But now I can bring both worlds together. I know how it is as a corporate. I know how it is. I started out as a flight attendant, is how to serve people in the best possible way. That's where also my slogan comes from, passion for brand excellence. It's always offering the best service you can offer, because you are in service of others. And this is something beautiful when you make people happy, you know, they come back. This is one of the essence. This is the experience that you offer as a brand. Everyone can offer an experience, even though it's just a product. But it's just, you know, when you think of a food brand you purchase in the supermarket and then you eat it, it's an experience, right? Also, experience is working with, for example, I love Apple because it's integrative. It's doing everything that I want. I'm not a software specialist, so I don't need to care about that. And it's beautiful. It has great design. And as a brander, I also take care of the design, how I design things. So for me, it's the perfect fit, even though it's more expensive than others. But they can be expensive because people go for it because they love it. They feel something about it. Even though another product might be more has more features or whatever, but you go for something because of that. So
it's funny that you say that with Apple, because I'm very similar, Brigitte. I love Apple. I've got, I don't know how many Apple things, but one of the reasons why I have stuck with Apple over the years since the first iPhone is that it just works. It just does what I wanted to do. If I click on something that doesn't ask me this, because this is the one thing, because I've had Android for a while as well, and you click on a picture and then it asks you, well, what program do you want to open it up with? I don't care. I just want to see the photo. And with Apple, you just press on the thing and it opens the picture for you. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
a lot of people would argue with me over that and say, no, I want that level of control. Fair enough. And that's why the two brands, two products are so successful, is because there's a huge market for the people who want to choose, and there's a huge market for the people who just want it to work, you know.
Mhm, mhm.
But it could we have a look at really quickly your career progression, because now you're a business owner. You mentioned you're also a professor. You said there you started off as a flight attendant, and that wouldn't be the natural sort of progression for people. So I'd like, as you know, the whole concept behind the Think to Thrive podcast is to inspire people to think differently,
Yeah.
and we do that through stories. I'm a big believer. We since we've been cave people or cavemen sitting around a fire, we've been telling stories to each other. So I believe stories are a huge part of how we get a message across. Tell us a little bit about your story, Brigitte. How did you go from your education, let's say, into flight attendant, to college professor, to business owner, successful brander, etc.? How did all that come about?
I mean, this is a really unconventional journey. It's what I was going through. I was reinventing myself so often. I pivoted so often. But this is the journey that makes someone rich in experience
Mhm.
and in life. So I have seen a lot. I was a child. I was conditioned to rather play small. I was grown up in a family, very, very hard workers. My mom comes from a farm where I partly grew up. So it was really about hardworking people. And there was not much there, you know. And but I had a nice childhood at the farm with my grandmother, with other people, with all the animals. But it also was a very, very kind of closed mindset, I would say. Work hard and don't ask for more. And I just couldn't understand why I should not ask for more. And I also wanted to see the world. I was always very, very curious, and still I am, and I will always be. And I needed to break out of this box.
Mhm.
And then my parents, so they lived in the city in Vienna, it's the capital of Austria. And then the first time I flew was with 14. We went on a holiday to an island. And I was like, oh my God, look at this beautiful flight attendants. Ha, this is what I want to become when I'm a grown up.
Mhm.
so, so I worked towards that. This was my goal. I want to become a flight attendant. So that's it. I did not see beyond, but this was already for me something so amazing and a goal so far to achieve. So I made it my vision, and yeah, suddenly I was a flight attendant. I
Mhm.
worked hard for it. I went to the US to study, and I mean, study English, and I worked for a family, and so it was something like that at that time. And then I flew for the airline, mostly long hauls. And after a while, I mean, you climb the career ladder and you become the purser. And I was like, okay, so this is it. I'm 23. I've achieved everything. This is it. And then there was a time, at that time, I was working for Niki Lauda, who the
Okay.
former Formula One
From
car.
Formula One. Yeah.
He started his airline, Lauda Air. And I was like, okay, with 32, my contract ends because he wanted only young flight attendants. So what am I doing past when I'm 32? I have no job anymore. Then he raised the age limit to 36, but still, what are you doing after that? And I was kind of a little worried. Either you marry rich, what a
Mhm.
lot of people do, or how do I end up? So I needed to, I just did not want to put myself into a golden cage. So I thought, okay, I always need to make sure I can support myself. And with 25, I jumped plane. I jumped plane and started studying. So I did my master in international marketing and management, pedagogics. So I'm a certified teacher. I'm an educator. I can educate within organizations, but also in schools. Yeah. And then I worked for other companies here and there in retail and pharmaceutical. And then I saw there's an opening for a PhD for PhD candidates. So I became a PhD candidate at the Department of International Marketing and Management. There were hundreds of applicants and I got it. So I did my PhD in international marketing and management, and then I also taught around the world at different universities for one school year in the US, and I taught in Canada, I taught in Vietnam, in Hong Kong, in Russia, in the Ukraine, in places in Europe. So I was pretty busy flying around teaching at all these different places, and also my time as a flight attendant sitting in Singapore, in Sydney, and in Bangkok. So I was always a global person. So I combined both, and then being in the corporate space for many years, and then as a university teacher, now I'm doing my own thing. So it all beautifully came together. And everything happens for a reason, but you need to figure out, and that's why introspection is so important once in a while, to do such a check-in. Where am I right now? And where do I want to go? It's like if you say, I want to go to New York, and you don't know where you are, how can you put into the Navi how to get there? So there's always the here and now and the future, what you want to become. That's why this is so important. And you need to be intentional. Otherwise, life is going to take you where you don't want to go. And a lot of people are unhappy because they do a lot of things that they are not relevant to their ultimate goal. And then they are unhappy, and it's systemic, and everyone else is unhappy. But when you are in your passion, in your element, you're owning it and you're striving for something, then you are happy, and the people you surround yourself are happy too. It's self-centered, but in a positive way.
Well, no, you've touched on what I believe is one of the core problems in the world today, is that people don't have a direction. People don't have a goal. They're just existing, because they don't take the time to do that introspective look. Yeah. And it's very funny. I was on a mastermind call on Monday, and we were talking about evaluation, sitting down at the end of the day or sitting down at the end of the week and evaluating what you've done in the previous week and how that ties into what your goal is for the future. Yeah. And I read at one stage, you could stand, let's say you were in Vienna and you were standing on a street corner in Vienna, and you could stop 100 people as they're walking by and go, what is your goal? What is your goal? What is your goal? About 95% of them would not have a goal. Yeah. 2 or 3% of them might have an idea of what their goal is, and maybe 1% will have it written down that that's what they're focused on.
And
that is the problem. What we're like ships on the sea, not knowing what port we're trying to aim for, and then getting upset that we haven't hit something that we never set as a target. So the first step for me in anything is one is you're doing that introspective look. You're trying to find out, well, who am I at my core? What is important to me? Where is it? Or what is it that I want out of life? Yeah. And then deciding, well, now that I know who I am, where do I want to be? Where do I want to go? And
and I think this is only half of the story. There is 2 more things that are relevant to building your brand, or building or being more aware of who you are and what you contribute to the world. Second is your purpose, your higher purpose. Yeah. why am I here for? To really understand here that here's the passion. The passion lies in your higher purpose that makes you passionate. Because a lot of people are not passionate, they have no purpose. They have no purpose, they have no vision. And the third most relevant thing, in order to make these pronounced decisions and intentional decisions, you need to have a set of values. And the next thing is, when you ask people in the street, what are your 3 to 5 core values? I'm curious how many people can answer that.
That's a very good question.
Mm.
I'd have to think for a few minutes in order to come up with the answer. And this is what I do all day, every day.
Yeah,
you know.
and that's how you base your decision. Should I do this? Yes or no? Okay, where do I want to go? Where's my passion? And what are the values that I live by every day? Does this clash with my values? Yes or no? If it's yes, I don't do it.
Mhm.
If there is, my freedom is at risk, if operating in excellence is at risk, does it harm my passion? Am I sad because of this? And what about my integrity?
Yeah.
Am I coming from a place of integrity doing this? Yes or no? So I think these, as you see, are my values. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you don't do it if that doesn't align. So life becomes so much easier.
Talking about values, I don't know, have you ever read this book, The 4 Agreements?
No, I have not. It's on my list. You please send me.
It's a fantastic, and when you talk about core values, the 4 agreements really, really quickly are: 1, be impeccable with your word. So you're careful about what you say. You don't say things negatively just for the sake of saying something. Yeah. Don't take anything personally, which is a super hard one to do, especially if people are being negative.
Mm-hmm.
Don't make assumptions. Yeah. And always do your best.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about making sure that no matter what, you're at your core, you're always giving your best. There's a really cool law that I came across a few years ago called the law of compensation, and it has to do with money, how much you can earn. And the law of compensation is really, really simple. And it's that the 3 parts of it are a need for what you do, your ability to do it, and how easy you are to be replaced. Okay. So if you look at what you do, Brigitte, insofar as the branding, is there a need for what you do? Yes. Are you going to be the best that you can possibly be at it? That's a decision that you make. Yes. Yeah. And how easy are you to be replaced? Well, not easy, I don't think, because you have 20 something years of experience and knowledge in doing it. Yeah. And so that's what makes you not easy to be replaced.
Yeah. But when it comes to the need, unfortunately, we're still living in a time where people do not see a need for a brander. Because I'm not a staple product. I'm not rice or milk or wheat that people need every day to eat. Yeah. If you see your business yourself from a different perspective, let's go Maslow's pyramid. All this needs the physiological.
The hierarchy of needs, Maslow's hierarchy.
When all the kind of physiological needs are met, then you can say you see yourself in a different perspective. You have needs that go beyond shelter and food and stuff like that. But if you then understand it's about you, and there is someone who can help you to be a better person in this world, and also, if you see as a company owner, there is someone out there that helps me to run my company from a place of, let's say, integrity, from a place of value-based leadership and servant leadership, and so that they understand that the people that work for you are the cornerstone of their success, because most of the people are not treated like that. So once people in this world understand that, then there is a need for me. There's more need for me, I would say, yeah? Because you're still fighting here in a world where this is not really relevant because they're not suffering enough, if I may say it so.
Yeah, I suppose that education is the key, and understanding is the key for a lot of things. So I think you and I, Brigitte, are quite similar. Not everybody sees the need for a success coach. Yeah, and that stems back to they don't see or they haven't got a goal, they haven't got something in mind that they're trying to achieve. I would liken what you do and what I do in some ways to let's say a sports coach. I'm not as good a golfer as Rory McIlroy or Tiger Woods, but that doesn't mean that you couldn't help them or I couldn't help them be better at what it is that they do. You know, that's I think everybody needs a coach in if they have made the decision in order to be better.
Yeah, and I think necessary. You don't need to be the superstar necessarily, and they have been a superstar for many years, most probably. Whom these people need is someone who is a little bit ahead of the journey, because they also can feel much better into the suffering, into the pain that they're going through right now, because you have gone through it already, not 20 years ago, maybe a few years ago. So you are much closer to their challenge, to their pain, to their desires than maybe someone who has earned millions of dollars with that, who is already far ahead.
Yeah. That's you made me think of something there. It's like it's about you're not millions of steps ahead. You're a step ahead, or you're a chapter ahead, or you're at the next step.
I love chapter.
Yeah.
You're in the next chapter. Okay, then you're ambitious. I want to see the next chapter. So let's do that. Yeah, it's very inspiring, I would say. Yeah, open the next chapter, close this chapter. It's also, there's this relief when you close a chapter. I've done it. Yeah. And you're ready to open the next chapter and write the story with the right people that you want to surround yourself with. I think this is another important point, is that you have to surround yourself with like-minded people, with people who are as ambitious, who understand you where you're coming from. Yeah, taking advice from them has immense value than taking advice maybe from your parents who have never gone through something like this. I know they mean it good and well and they want to help you, but they cannot, because I'm in a totally different world and I need people that really understand where I'm coming from, so I can reflect on advice that is really helpful and constructive.
And that's why networking, I think, is super important for people, because you get those groups of like-minded people. I often used to think, well, if I keep surrounding myself with like-minded people, I'm only going to get one side of the scenario. I'm only going to get one side of the equation. But it's I can't remember who said it now, but it's when you are, it's a drain on your energy. Everything that we do is based on energy and vibration, etc. But when we are surrounding ourselves with people that are not thinking in the same way we are, you need to have, I always call it, I put up my shield, I put up my wall, so that I protect my energy to make sure that it doesn't get drained out. Because when you're surrounded by people who are negative, and they don't mean to be negative, it's just that their mindset is in a different way than what your mindset is. You're in that growth mindset. And the idea is you can still be friends with those, and can still be around your family, but maybe don't go as often and don't stay as long,
Yeah, you don't need to say yes to everything. It's important to say no. And you set up your boundaries. So how much do you let them in? Yeah, it's good to see that this is something you do not want. But you also need to make sure that it's not taking overhand. It's not ruling you, or it's not interfering with, it's not limiting you. Yeah. I think I went through such a change in the last, I would say, 7, 8 years, that I let so many people go. But in gratitude, they were here, they served their purpose, like I served their life's purpose, whatever, yeah, in gratitude. But now there is a new chapter that I'm starting. I shed my identity, I reinvented myself, kind of, right? And I take everything that I have learned that was positive for me, because it happened for a reason, and use it for creating a new identity, who I want to authentically be now. And then also creating that identity I want to be in the future. So this is very important for me. And I always feel into, when I meet new people, is this something that it's not self-centered, but is this something I want in my life? I have the freedom to decide. I don't need to be friends with everyone. And that's impossible. I don't have the time. Nobody has the time. Yeah? But there's so many. I went from kind of people pleasing into something more self-focused or self-centered. Does it feel good? Is this something I can grow with, or is it tearing me down? Why would I say yes to something that does not do me well? Why should I?
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite analogies, Brigitte, and you might resonate with this one a little bit, given your airline past, is when you're people pleasing, you're trying to look after everybody else, yeah, at your own detriment. So you take care of all the people around you, and then you try and take care of yourself. So when you're on an airplane and they're given the safety briefing at the beginning of the flight, what is it that they say? You know?
Yeah, put the mask on first on yourself, and this is it. It's not a bad thing to first look after yourself. Because you need to be strong enough to help everyone else. And you can only be strong in something that you really love, where your passion is. And that's what I'm talking about. My passion is in serving people and helping others. But I need to be myself strong and whatever it needs and takes in order to do so.
Yeah. I love that one, because it just hits home so much. It's like, you can only look after other people when you look after yourself. You can only love somebody else when you love yourself first. And that's where that introspection comes from. You gotta like yourself. And
that's hard at the beginning. It's hard. But because we're not used to, because who you are, that you love yourself, right? Who are you? And this is actually the contrary to how it's supposed to be, because when you are, it's not being in love, but loving yourself. It means you also see you yourself in let's say as part of the world. It's not just you, but you need to be compassionate, self-compassionate, or compassionate with yourself first, so that you can also do that with everything else, and with everyone else, and with other people. It's a one step further than just being empathic. It's really having compassion with someone else, but also always protecting yourself. How far can I go that I'm not losing myself and only be people pleasing? Because it doesn't help them. It doesn't help them. So you always need to stay strong and centered in order to do so.
Yeah, I love that one. Empathy is I would call empathy a superpower. Being able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. But what you said is super important. Don't ever forget who you are first. So not only be able to see yourself in somebody else's shoes, but you got to remember who you are in order to be able to help them. I think that's fantastic.
Not losing yourself in the whole thing, always trying to put yourself on into a meta perspective and see what's going on here. Have the big picture in mind. Don't lose that.
Brigitte, I'm conscious of time. Our conversation, I feel, could go on for hours, because I'm really, really enjoying this. It's been a great conversation, but I am conscious of time. And so I always ask my guests at the end, because we're going to come close to the end now at the moment. Would you have, because I'm a big believer in books. I think I've mentioned 3 or 4 books during this conversation.
Yeah.
I'm surrounded by books. Would you have any sort of book recommendations that you'd be able to give to our listeners?
Same thing with me. I love books. I cannot stop reading personal development books. And of course, that goes into branding. There is 2 books for those who want to start out.
Mm-hmm.
The first one, because I think there's a lot of people who have this imposter syndrome. Yeah. So it's by Tara Moore, Playing Big. It helps you to play big and not play small. It's a beautiful beginner's book.
Mm-hmm.
And then Gay Hendricks, The Big Leap, Being in Your Zone of Genius. I think those are the 2 reads everyone should read.
Okay, I'll put them into the comment section underneath so people will be able to see them. Yeah.
And there's one third book I would like to mention because Arnold Schwarzenegger is awesome. And he wrote a really cool book. I love it. It's cool, and it should be on the shelves in every household. It's called Be Useful.
Yes, yeah.
Be useful.
I love Arnie. I watched his documentary on Netflix recently. A phenomenal story. And the other thing I love about Arnie, because I went vegan about 2.5 years ago. He's after eating probably more than my body weight in meat. He is changing to a more plant-based, whole food plant-based diet. So that's also good to recognize. And he's still, for his age, he is still very, very fit.
So much to learn from these people. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the phenomenal story that, the bodybuilding and the acting was one part of it, but the business that he built in between that and his property business that he built, I had no idea, but that's phenomenal.
Yeah, it is.
He had some really great advisors when he was early on in his career that helped him to do that, I think.
Yeah, he was lucky, but I think also with his mindset, he just drew these people into his life. And what I like about him is his courageousness, his boldness, but also he always wanted to be the best version every day. And I think that is a great role model.
Yeah. And that's it. I'd love to have him on my show at some stage. So I'm going to put him on the vision board of somebody to interview.
Yes! Me too. Let's see what happens.
Let's see what we can do. Brigitte, thank you very much for being on the Think to Try podcast. I really, really enjoyed this conversation. It's been a pleasure to have you. And thank you very, very much.
Thank you too, Adrian. It was a pleasure being here today. Thank you so much.
Cool. Thank you. Just stay on for a second, just while I'm going to end the recording.